ghosts, monsters, the undead, murderers. Horror allows us to explore the darker avenues in life and to confront our greatest fears. Are you brave enough to seek them out? Then follow me into the spectral study. Today on Tomestones, I will be reviewing the novel The Graveyard Apartment by Mariko Koike, which was originally published in Japan of July 1988 by Kadokawa as Bochi o Miyorosu Ie, or The House Overlooking the Graveyard. It was published in the United States by Thomas Dunn Books on October 11, 2016, and has an English translation by Deborah Bolivar Beam. Teppei Kano, a middle-aged copywriter, his wife Misao, a freelance illustrator, and their young daughter Tamao move into the titular habitation within the first pages of the novel. Central Plaza Mansion is a luxury apartment building with 14 2 LDK units, or 2-bedroom, living room, dining room, kitchen units, at a fraction of the cost of similar buildings due to its placement near a large cemetery, crematorium, and funerary temple. While the Kanos have some reservations about living in such a building, it's perfect for their budget, so they purchase a unit on the 8th floor. The novel begins the day after the family moves in, and strange occurrences begin immediately when the family's pet Finch is found dead. Tamao repeatedly tells her parents that he speaks to her at night, but being two rational adults, Teppei and Misao believe that their daughter is grieving for the pet through imaginative stories and leave it at that. Most other strange occurrences, like black shadows on the TV and the elevator getting stuck on certain floors, all have logical explanations, so the family tries to ignore any apprehensions they feel about their new abode until a so-called freak accident leads them to begin contemplating another move. The increasingly creepy and oftentimes violent events that transpire within Central Plaza Mansion are typical haunted house fare. Anyone who's seen a film about paranormal events can easily predict what will happen next. However, the book is still compelling despite its by-the-numbers plot. All of the building's inhabitants are interesting, likable characters, like the only other family in the building, the Inoes, the elderly live-in caretakers, the Tawatas, and Mr. Shoji, a yoga instructor who plays an integral role during a rescue scene. Japanese society is culturally collectivist, so the various apartment dwellers rely on each other in ways that wouldn't be present in Western media. This also makes the climax of the novel even more deeply felt. Koike gradually builds tensions as the happening's frequency and trajectory escalate, and Beam's translation is very readable. Some of the occurrences in the last 30 to 50 pages seem far-fetched, especially given that neither the reader nor the Kanos ever understand a clear motivation for the haunting. Misao does research the cemetery and a scrapped housing project that answers some questions, but it only raised more for me. I was expecting a transgression from the couple's past to manifest as an onryo or violent spirit, but aside from their shared trauma, very little was done with that particular plot thread. The Graveyard Apartment does, however, successfully toy with our economic fears. The Kanos fear that they'll be unable to afford a home and provide for their family in a more desirable and therefore more expensive area, and later, as the paranormal happenings increase in frequency, they fear losing their investment altogether. The idea of bad investments is also explored with the failed housing project. However, the more dominant cultural fear at play is development versus tradition. With unused land being scarce and an increasingly urban population, graves are being relocated in real life, just like the plot point in the novel. Are the needs of the living more valuable than the sanctity of the dead and centuries of tradition? I haven't read any interviews or biographical information about Mariko Koike, but given the unpopularity of such relocations at the time of the novel's writing and the tone of the ending, there are clearly onryo in this novel, just not the one that readers may expect. If you are looking for a traditional haunted house novel in a non-Western setting or are a fan of J-horror, you should definitely consider reading The Graveyard Apartment. Pros, likable characters, building tension, and non-Western culture. Cons, an implausible ending and unresolved plot threads. Final verdict, 3 out of 5 haunted tomes. Have you read The Graveyard Apartment? What did you think of it? Are there other Japanese horror novels on your radar? Leave your comments below and stay tuned for my review of the horror comedy Ready or Not. I'm Sarah Mayacher, librarian and horror enthusiast. Thank you for joining me in the spectral study.